So today we're going to be painting this. You see here, this is on a 16 by 12 inch canvas panel. This is a canvas panel, but you can use a canvas if you want. I'm going to be using these paints here. You got a set like this. You can get some, use this one or something similar, probably be able to do the job. We've got this for wiping off our brush. Got a nice empty palette ready to put some paint on. Got my thing for my water here, and we've got a big brush, a kind of medium one, and a small one for little details. Get that. I suppose a pencil won't hurt either. So we've got, look at this shape here. We're going to break this up, the alligator, into a shape. The main bit is like an oval, the main bit here. So look where it is. It's roughly right in the center of the thing, center of the canvas. Bring it in maybe there, that's where I want it to be. And there. And look at the angle there. Just gonna draw it in. There. It goes to a point here where the tail would be. So we're just going to pretend like do an arch of where the body would be. The tail there. If you want to know what I'm using here, rather than a pencil, I'm using Vine charcoal because it's very easy to just rub out like that. Right, so we've got that. This is the main bit there, with the most important here, how the head reacts to it. So you've got to see it starts about there on it compared to there. So looking at something probably about here and about there. Is that even? Roughly. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to do the slight sort of oval shape here. And then you see the top bit though is more like an oblong, which is a thing which is like that sort of a shape, only we're going to do it a bit more curved in because of the size of the eyes there. Do that for there. You got the little thing with the head there, the little dip in the head. Going up for the eyes again, the eye bit, and bringing it down again for the sides of the face. And then here, for the snout of this alligator, just bring it over. There's another wide oval like that. So it's just literally that, and then you can, if you want, you can do a rough mark of where you want these to be, where they're going to curve in, because this is a domed like back on the alligator. This one's just over here. There you go, and one more just around the edge. Now we've got that roughly in. If you want to make adjustments to it, you can. I think this is generally alright. It's up to you if you want to mark where roughly the eyes would be, but they're going to be about here. And you have the, see, alligators have quite big like eyelids there overshadowing it, so they'd be there. You can see it'd be roughly like that. So we've got the basic outline. We now want to cover this, get this canvas going, get rid of the white. So I'm going to open up paint, get the green on. As you can see, the bulk of the water is green. Get a big load of that on there. Given the type of green we're going for though, we need to add some yellow to make it a lighter green. You see this green here, you only get that sort of a tone there by getting this and then mixing it with yellow, and then possibly even adding a bit of white to lighten it. One thing you'll learn when you mess around with colours enough is that yellow is a kind of quiet colour, like you need a lot of it to make a bit difference. So mix it in, see how it's looking. See, the yellow has barely made an impact on that, because that's how much of an understated colour it can be when mixed with others. So we'll definitely get some white on. Get these out so they're easy access. There we go. Mix it in. Now might be a good time for a hint more yellow. I've already got green in my hands. There we go. And now we're going to get rid of the white. That's the aim of this bit. Get rid of it as fast as possible. I recommend don't go too close to this. If you really want, you can switch to the small brush, the medium brush thing. This one, if you want to go around this bit here to be a bit more delicate, but I'm confident enough I won't get much in it, and we're going to paint over it anyway, so it'd be fine if you want to just do this. Let me remove this out of the way for a second before I get it covered in green. I'll put the reference photo painting back in a second when this is done and it's relatively dry. If you want, feel free to add a hint of water to this mixture. It might make it a bit easier to spread around faster. This actual image is based on a photo I took of an alligator at the on something called the Oahe Trail, which is at the Grassy Water Preserves in West Palm Beach. It's one of the places I like to go hiking, cycling, It's a great place for spotting alligators like this. There's a lot of them there. Just using my edge there to kind of go skirt around the edge of it. Looking at this, I think it's a bit big. I'm just gonna, there you go. I think that was slightly better in size and proportion now. Virtually done with this part now. So I'm going to want to wash our brush off, wipe it on a rag like this, or paper towel will do fine, and get on with some different colour now. Get some of this darker green that we had originally, get some there. There we go. Get a hint of black. There you go. A dollop of this stuff. Put it all together. Mix it in. Black's quite overpowering here. Might be worth just adding some of that to this to get the direct tone I'm after. That's it, nice dark murky green. You see this here now. Let me see it touching there. See there's this, there is murky green bits here and there, so this is just going to be that. I'm going to wet my brush a bit. It doesn't need to be it'll be nice if it's not too aggressive in colour, and just add tones here and there. Try not to get this bit, try and get it smooth like this. See, this is side to side brushwork here, because that's going to mimic the pattern of the water. This brushwork you can see here. You can use the medium brush, as I'm calling it, the one in the middle of the three that we got today, if you want for this bit, but it's faster to just get this down like this, and it's more an underlay. We're going to do more highlights of it in a bit, where we use a bit of black in a minute, and then come over it with a little bit of more of a lighter green and a bit of blue. As you can see, there's a bit of blue in here, there's a bit of light green there. We're going to add some of this, and then they've got the white, but they've got the black too. So that's going to make up the bulk of the actual, where we're going to use the medium brush here for it. But this is just tones that we're getting in, different colours we're getting into the water, to indicate that there's trees, you know, out of shot, that this is reflecting into the water. If you get a little bit onto the alligator's body here, it's fine, because like we'll be going over it anyway. Can do it faster than this. I'm being a bit slow with this. Right, now that's done, leave that in there for a second, and we're going to move on to this brush here. I'm going to get some black, charming sound, there we go, and we're going to start filling in the dark spots. If you see this here, the light source is kind of coming right down on top of the alligator. You see it's on here, this side of the ridges on the back there, and then on this side, so it's dark on this side and it's dark on there, just where it's away, so the sun's almost coming completely down on it. So we're going to add the darker spots here, and then shadows, we're going to work on that, and then we're going to add these ripples, dark ripples into the water also with the black. So I expect to be using it quite a lot. Let's go just around the edge of the alligator there. You see there is a bit here to add some definition to it. might want to go in a bit more there. There you go. Again, we're using the going side to side here. Trying to add these dark bits. Like I'm just using here, I'm using a bit of water, dipping it in just to try and help the brush run a bit smoother on it. As you see, it's kind of sticking with these weird little marks. There you go. That's a bit nicer. And under here there's a bit. See, this has got a nice big shadow here. Reflection under. These sort of things often look good if you bring a good energy to it. Like, it doesn't have to be exact. You need to look roughly where you're aiming for. Think about the type of mark you want to do and then do it with a bit of energy. By which I mean, don't just like label, like go like that. It just needs to be a bit of energy like this. Because out in nature, you know, things don't look perfect, things are overlapping, they look a bit strange sometimes. Nothing's really symmetrical out in nature, particularly not the water. As an alligator's swimming through it, which is what this is doing. It'll be swaying side to side, pushing the water all over the place. See, when I actually come to draw this, paint this, I think I might need to bring this out a bit, so I'm leaving a little bit of a green gap there for where I think I'm going to need to bring this out, because I think the head needs to be more over here where this is. So I'll do that, because this side's a bit more of a better, less steep gradient, whereas this one's just straight up almost. So I'm going to even it out more and make it more of a curl. You may notice little things like that in your own drawing as we go. Your own little thing, like that might look a little bit nicer. This side looks a bit odd, slanted or something. Careful not to accidentally paint a black line on this my reference painting from above. Thickening it out. Some of these come all the way over here, so I'm trying to get these all the way over there. Starting to look a lot more like water now, particularly if you do the odd long one like this. Long and thin like that, just to add a different type of ripple or reflective mark. So now we're going to try and add a little bit of the darker bits in here, like we've got the snout on this side is going to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to add a little bit of a darkish bit there. Just come over and then from here, there. I'm going to follow roughly where I think that line is going to be for the eye. Line there. This side is slightly darker, and it's good to add random marks here too, because this is like where there's going to be shadows to the various ridges and little scaly things on an alligator's face. I'm not going to draw everyone in accurately. There's a line here where the eyes come down to. There's usually a line underneath on each eye round where it goes down like that. And then there's a light bit underneath it. There. Now it's probably a good idea to briefly switch over to your small brushing as we're messing with the black. Put your other one in the water, you can wipe it off in a second, and basically do these marks, which is to just kind of triangles, as it were, with it leaning more towards the darker side, obviously, because you're going to draw the lighter side on this. So if you see there, we're going to bring in the lighter part later on here, but this is more of a triangle where you draw that with the look to add in the white highlight at a later point. And it's important that you do have to break this line here, because obviously the body does go beyond this line that we've got here. You're sure to draw it along, do it roughly even distances across on this. If you look this one now, it looks almost a bit different. It looks like it goes up, like curves in, so the bit where it's there, it curves in, then there's to be the gap between them, and then it curves in again where the sharp point would be, and you have to add a little bit for each bit there, and then it goes in again. because if it goes like this, if you trace the shape, it's almost like a snake bit there. If you follow where the black finishes and the white starts on this, there. So we're going to look to kind of roughly emulate that here, and then add to the shadow at the back of each one, and roughly the same again, add to that, roughly the same, and make sure we've got the dark side there done. Now this one looks more straightforward because it's on both sides of it, the light part, so it's almost like a dotted line, because it's going to be dark in the middle, but then it's going to be in the middle gaps between them, but then as you see here, it's going to be dark between each ridge, but then it's going to be lighter on each side because the sun's coming straight down on it. So you kind of have to have like a hint more width to it where the sun's going to be. There you go. So you imagine that, and then drawing the light side in to make a point on each of these. So that done, let's move on to these. It's going to be similar to this, only on the opposite side where the sun's going to be. So sun's going to be there. We can correct all these later on if you're not completely happy with them, which I'm not completely happy with this row, but when I add the white I can fiddle with it then. It's supposed to come to that. What have we got here? This is a quite easily slanted towards it, the sunlight being that way. It's like a big dome belly, so it's going to be at that sort of an angle where the lighter stuff is. Remember, it's got to break that line. We're gonna, the final bit here, it's quite dark on the edge and really leaning up against the edge of the body here, so much so you can barely see where the actual end of the body is, where the end of the stomach is from where it touches the water as it's moving. It's key, it's got to break this line here and then get smaller as you go round. There you go. So we kind of got a bit of texture going on. We can, I don't know if you want to put roughly in the eyes or not. I'm going to very roughly. It's open to change later on, but that's roughly what they're going to be like there. Going to be like that. It looks fairly even. Okay, and we're going to put this in, get our medium brush back out here, wipe it off, do it a few times if you need to, and now I think we'll add some of the lighter green coloured in here, which means we're going to get some yellow like this. I'll get rid of my vine charcoal there. I'm going to get some white. Then we're going to add just a hint of this green, some of this green left over now, and what you'll see how we're trying to make a very light sort of lime green colour. It's starting to come together. You don't need much green, as you can see, to make a big difference because of how it kind of overpowers the yellow. But it still probably needs to be a hint more green, because it's a lot easier to add more green than try and recover the colour or make it how you like by adding too much too early. A lot easier to add a little bit now, so scoop a little bit more off. Trying to go for the right tone of green. You see it's got this stuff here, it's quite light. It's not quite the tone I'm after, but can probably make do with that. See if you, sometimes if you get water on your brush, you can scoop up more colour that way. A bit better. There we go. Alright, I think that's a nice enough, like, very light murky green sort of colour. And for some of the highlights here, you don't have to do anything too much, just same sort of brush movements as before, but obviously not as much as this, just there. Just add some. Try not to get too much paint on your brush so you don't get big marks. We're adding these different colours into the water because it's supposed to mimic the different shades of green that you may see in trees and leaves and stuff on the bank, where the reflections in the water now from the trees surrounding this area. So obviously did have different coloured leaves, some shadows where greens are a different type shade of green, some light, some dark, depending on what's facing the sun, etc. And sometimes there's algae that sort of grows in this water as well, which is that sort of lime green colour anyway. So it definitely needs to be in the water. If you have a decent stack of paint supplies outside of these, then you may want a specific green that's a bit brighter and more of a lime green, saturated, bright sort of colour than this. This is kind of quite a muted colour in the way it's a lime green. It's not a very bright one or a saturated one, it's quite muted. So if you have others in your collection like that, you may prefer to use that to add a bit more brightness. Like this is a bit brighter here. If not, this works pretty good too. Again, not too many, you can't do too much. Just enough to indicate there's different types of reflections going on from different type of foliage. This side we've still got blue to come as well. As you can see, there's nice shades of blue in this that kind of pop in all this green, so that'll be something nice to add in a minute. Using a lot of my space already on this. Same sort of side to side brush marks. There you go. Nearly done with this section. So how's it looking? It's not too bad, is it? It does look more like it's going through some grass here. A river made of grass or something. Right, I think that's about done with this now. Gonna wipe it off. Try and get rid of that. Okay, and now we're gonna mix a blue for it, which is gonna be some of this. We're gonna try and create quite an aqua blue, which to do so is like you have to kind of create a hint of turquoise about it. If you want to make a blue that's like pops a bit like this, which is you have to add blue, a hint of the green, and some white. It may require a little bit more blue based on what I've got here, but we'll find out after mixing it all in. Okay. There you go, you see it's starting to look a kind of turquoisey, although because this is a bit lumpy, this blue, it's going to slowly hopefully get more and more blue the more we add into it. Also helps with the tonal values of the overall piece by using some of the green, this green that's in pretty much every single part of these yellows and greens already in here. So it kind of adds a kind of tonal harmony to kind of use one colour, if possible, in pretty much all the things you mix. Well, this is a nice sort of turquoisey colour, as it were. Kind of nice sky blue, I suppose, with that hint of green. And probably a very good colour for, I don't know, a swimming pool or something. But for this here, I think we need a hint more blue to it, to make it a hint darker. This blue paint's a bit lumpy. It's going to need a bit more mixing in. There you go. I'm going to try this and see how it looks on there. I might want to add a little bit more blue in the minute of this to like arrange the colour and change it slightly, but let's give it a go and see how it looks. Same sort of brush marks. Obviously there's going to be sky, so it needs to be a certain type, you know, it does need to be relatively light blue, it can't be too dark. Even if there's like shadows, like a lot of shade for the trees here that are reflected, there's still going to be a decent amount of blue. Let's see how this looks. Because of the muted yellow, this kind of blue actually kind of serves it quite well, because this is a brighter blue and a brighter green, whereas this is a more muted like lime green and then a slightly more muted blue, like not too overpowering or loud of a colour. Feel free to add some that are long, thin, slightly thicker. You can even zigzag a few that indicates where like there's some water moving around. How's that looking? I think it looks quite good. If you feel at all that you've added too much of one colour or isn't enough like intriguing contrast or whatever, feel you can repeat some of these steps, you know, do add more of a particular colour, like there's these lines of strong lines of black here, maybe I want to add more later on or something. I can do that if I want, or if I don't want to, it's also okay. This is almost like not necessarily, it's a lesson, but you're also welcome to obviously do offshoots of, you know, like it's a guide, but it can be a rough guide. You know, you can go away from this a little bit if you want. If you wanted to add hints of pink or something in here to indicate that there's pink flowers in the surrounding trees, that's okay too. You know, something weird like that. But right now I'm just finishing this blue. I'm nearly done with this. Thinking it's looking pretty good. And in a second we're going to work on the actual alligator. We're going to add some of the basic kind of blue to begin with here, which is it's a blue that's kind of a bit grey, which is kind of what alligators look like often in the water. Like some lights they look a very navy blue, some lights they look like a very bluey grey, sometimes they look grey, and then occasionally they look like really dark grey to black. But this one, as you can see here, it's in that kind of light grey blue sort of thing in most of it. So I'm going to put some of this colour here, the leftover blue we got here. I'm going to add a little bit more white. Now I'm running a bit out of room, but I'll be fine. The other colours are just white and black and things. We've got black there, we've got white here. Can always mix some grey in here in a bit. That's a point. Got this hint of black there, just a tiny dollop of it. Mix it in. It's best to get a kind of more even kind of it needs to be a light grey, but it doesn't need to be like so light that it's almost white, because we're going to add lighter highlights to it after on with the white, like here and all these other places. It's going to be more this sort of tone there, and then we're going to add little bits on as we go. So a little bit more black. There you go, you see the grey starting to do now. I also think I want a hint of this blue. Just pop it. Yeah, that I can dip into if I want. Just want it different enough to the blue in the water that it doesn't, that you don't get confused, and that it helps the alligator like stand out more. So there we go, that's kind of quite a nice sort of bluey grey there, I think. Now I've mixed in. You can work it as you want. If it's like too dark, then you add a bit of white. If you feel it's too light, you add a hint of black. Like really a tiny bit though, because black is a very overpowering colour. Okay, add a hint more blue. See the difference between this blue and this blue? This one looks much more like an aqua colour. This one looks far less. Let's try putting this on here. I think I needed to add a bit of water to help it go better. This can be fairly rough because we're going to go in with a small brush in a minute and go over a lot of this with specific highlights or specific shadows and hints of things. Doesn't have to be too any particular like brush style work here. Just be careful not to go too much into the black, because we don't want to ruin the bits where we'll be adding shadows and highlights and things. going to make a kind of dark grey in a second, just to add some of the darker areas and the textures and things. See, add a little bit to the face here though first. Remember, I wanted to curve this bit out. I'm going to do that just there now. Dab there. Is that a bit too far? That's roughly that. Add a bit there. Just try and even out. I think that looks pretty much even now. Okay. Gonna add a bit of black to this now to make a much more darker grey. Not too much, obviously. You don't want to overpower it and turn it into a black, which it will very easily become if you push it. But you see there's like dark bits here which I want to kind of add those dark bits, and there's shadows to this side too from where these, see here where these bits are, it gets a bit greyer and darker here. So I'm just going to add bits there, a little bit of texture to the Now I think we need a bit more black there to make it even darker there. I think it's time though that we switch to the smaller brush, because it's going to start getting smaller and more intricate now, so wipe it off if you used it before. And you see these bits here, I'm going to try and just add some elongated bits here. Might need even more, but it's a lot easier to go darker than it is to try and then brighten it up after going dark, because of how overpowering black and other dark colours can be sometimes. So this side's going to be a bit darker, so we're going to add some more on this bit. If you want, you can always add some of these shadows that are here now whilst you've got this brush. Still need a hint more black, I think, for some of these sections. Maybe we'll go straight to actual black with it there and do. Try and make the shape of these ridges on the back a bit more, and then don't just kind of spot it here like that, just add the darker bits where it's away from the sun, And then here where it's lighter, this bit's going to be lighter, but it's good to have the where the gaps in between, sometimes the light doesn't hit. Then we're going to add the texture because of the scales and whatnot. We're not going to paint in every single thing, we're just going to give the impression of it, which means adding these little like misfit little dots here, and then when we go over it with a white and do the same, it looks like there may be scales or something that is like makes a pattern normal scales by having the dark side and the light side of something, some sort of textured body that's there. Picked up some blue then when I grabbed this. I got a bit of blue, so just do that. And it's going to be the darker bit, it's just around here. You can even dab that if you... There we go, and now we can think about bits in the face, like it's going to be under here, there's going to be it, because this side's a little bit darker than that side. Just going to have some of the, just going to go for there. The eye bit kind of goes out there, the eyelid thing kind of goes out quite far on alligators. There. They always have these bits here, goes around, you see they have... Their eyes are quite a lot of like folds and things going on there. Must be for the range of motion when they bring their mouths up, when they open their mouth, to get that level of, you know, wide jaws. They must have to like have a lot of like excess weird wrinkly bits here. So remember we've got this there, gonna add that. See there's some dark bits here, gonna add a few there. I think it's mimicking this bit where the eyes are in the reflection. We can add a little bit there. Maybe in a bit here in the black. Remember there was that line here, I wanted to do just a few bits like that there. A few here too. Apologies, I just had to change the battery in my camera, run out, so we'll continue on with this. Gonna try and grab a little bit of this excess aqua blue that we got here, add a little bit of our black, very small amount, just to try and make an interesting dark blue sort of colour. Here we go, we'll grab a bit more. A few little bits here. See the difference that's made? It's made an interesting different element to this there. A little bit there on where it's going to be dark. There we go, adding a little bit there. Add a little bit into this water here. So, kind of got this now. I think it's going to be ready for the light highlights now. Maybe add a hint more black in a couple of spots. There we go, we've got the main black there. That's a bit wider, I think, there. Add some black bits into this. Very rough, nothing too specific. Doesn't need to be. Some little black, like small details here, you see? All you do is look, you're holding the brush very tightly and just like running it over. Not jabbing at it, just like running it over with a small amount of paint on the brush. There you go. And you see the painting up here has got quite big bit underneath where the eyelid bit is. It's quite dark under there, so I'm going to go there, and then there's a big bit where like the mouth muscles here, the jaw bits there are, so I'm going to have to do the same thing on this side. You see there. I think we're ready for some white now. Try and add something more to this bit. A little bit more black there. Now, let's get this white on the go. It's the final main stage when you do that. You always go from dark to light, which is what we've done here. Because you get the colour things in and the light little touches on the end, just where the light is, it kind of brings everything together. Recommend doing a hint of this there to mix with this white, because it's, we might not want to go straight in with pure white. You want to grab a little bit, make it even lighter. There we go. There's some bits that aren't going to be completely white. You see, this isn't completely white, this isn't completely white, and only a few little spots on these are completely white. So if you watch what we do, we kind of bring it from here to there. They kind of start on this. See, that's pretty dark there. I may end up having to do a little bit of a... It's pretty light, I mean, there. May have to do some darker bit to indicate the detail a bit better. But we'll see what happens when we bring all of it together. It may look good and not need it. When you add the little bits to these areas, then everything gets lighter. When you have a few bits that look light now, it makes you go, oh dear, that bit's a bit too bright. But hopefully it'll all come together and it'll all look good. So we're just using this on the thin side there. You see the thin side, and we're just trying to bring these into a shape, because you see towards a sharper edge to indicate there. So it's almost like turning, you see here, we're going to go up into to try and form a little triangle shape with these ridges, with just a hint of black in the middle when we do. And on this side here, we've got this. We've got to try and add definition to the triangular shape. There, we'll do filling in the other half of the triangle basically. And leaning a little bit towards where the light source is up, and indicating that roundness of the body by doing it at a slight angle here. Then we're going to add a few light bits here to indicate where the light source is falling on this scaly back. May need a little bit more of this in a bit. We'll see. But and the same again here with this sort of thing. Try and complete a triangle of these here, only making it again, leaning it in a little bit to indicate the curve of the body, like that. So you don't draw it like straight on this side like that, you have to bring a little bit out here to indicate it curves like that, the body does. There we go, we indicate the bit where it's just going out of sight of the main body there, and one more I think there, that indicates that. And then you see there's a nice big bit here, we can, where this light source is here, so we need to do some light bouncing off these scaly bits here, like this. Nothing too specific, but nothing too thick either, because you want to make sure there's some darker elements to it also, so there's the hint of like shadows on the scales, or like lines for the scales. There you go, starting to build up something here I think. And you see this bits here, it's kind of dark here where these like dominate a bit here. So we're going to do this bit and then a little bit of this, and then be very careful like the halfway point around here. Not to do too much of this sort of thing here. Maybe a hint, a tiny bit, but not much. But first we've got to obviously get the light source going, and again doing it at trying to create a slight angle to these ridges on the back of this alligator. So I think the key bit is the sticking out part here to indicate that it's going in that way. There we go. That indicates that there. I'm going to add a little bit of this stuff here. Not too much. And just like a hint here or there for that bit. Nothing much. See, it's a lot lighter there. And we're yet to add the clear white, the complete white. We're just going to add like a dash here or there to where it's really hitting the light source there, where it's like really bright, just a dash. But we're going to do that at the end after we've done these ones here. Now I'm going to do the same thing again. Make sure there's a sense of curvature by where you bring this line across here. Bit more paint. A little bit more there, and then a little dab here to indicate this sense of the scales. There you go, maybe a dab or two on this side, just not much, just a little bit. There you go. I think the body of this alligator is looking pretty good now. Now we need to add some of the highlights to this. If you want to go too crazy, but you see there's a lot on top here where the water's gone over the snout, so we're going to go all the way over the snout there, all the way to the sides. I'm going to add a little bit in here where there's lines, because they kind of go down there where there's like two nostril holes around here, but they're slightly odd shapes, so I'm not going to do too much. We may go over it in a hint of, when we add a hint of blue, I'm thinking of adding some of this pure blue in there in very subtle marks, just to try and bring up the blue values in there. But that is not until later on. Okay, and now you see the eyelash bit here is very bright, so we're going to there. There we go, just adding little lines here. It's be very thin here, very delicate, just touch it. You can always do it a few times if you more than once for touching this. Make sure you keep some of the shape of these things here, these little bumps on the alligator's mouth and jaw. Make sure we go all the way to the edge to widen that face. I don't know about you, I feel like I need to make this eye a little bit bigger. I may have done a bit too much white, so I'll do that in a second. You may notice little things like that, particularly the eyes. Maybe they're not, if you see that there's a distinction in the size, you may go, oh, I need to correct that, and then do it. There's that. And I'm going to do some on this side now. This side's a nice and light here. I'm going to add my slightly. Going to make the eye slightly bigger now. Just very subtly. It's a bit more like it. How do they look? This one looks a little bit more open, but they do look out to the side, so it's good to make sure you represent that. It's looking out to the side. Okay, I think it's time for to try some of the pure white here, particularly on this snout. You see where the water's ruffling over it. And the water's there too. Just on the tip of these eyelids. Just slight touches here of the pure white, just indicate the light is really hitting that one part of it. A second layer of skin. We want to see the light touches here, like a fold in the eyelid there. There's one on this side, two that needs to do. There you go. Then, because the sun's coming down straight on, these bits here for the eyes will definitely sense a highlight or two there. Also helps define the head away from the body there by doing that. Not too much, like I say, you're doing this very lightly. Now this is where the ripples of the alligator pushing its way through the water. You sense that? Just doing a bit here and there. You see it's all here in our reference painting. Even if you want to, you could even refer back to the what I'm, we've been calling the medium brush for this one if you want, for that part with the water, but I'm not going to. So a little bit there. I'm going to add a little bit of white to these bits now. So just a bit of white there, just to really make it pop on which side the water, the sunlight's hitting there. It's good to have a few tiny dots just here of the white there to indicate the scale hitting it there too. Not too much. Even if you want, you can even mute it by just using your finger like that to make it less apparent. And we're going to do this on all the rest of these too. See, these aren't that pronounced. I might want to do a bit more dark here, I think, if I'm correcting, because there's got a bit more of a shadow, if you see on this one, than on this. I don't know if yours are similar, or maybe you've gone the opposite way and you need to make them smaller, I don't know. Indicate the light hitting it either side of these ridges on the back, and some water of it pushing through the water. This particular one that we're doing, you can tell by the eyes in relation to the head, it's actually a quite small alligator, probably about 4 foot in size. Such is the amount of times I go to these nature. Excuse the delay, another technical issue with the next battery that wasn't quite charged enough to finish the painting. Let's move on with this white. Okay, we're just doing these again, getting these white highlights there, making them pop a bit. Just using a little bit of this paint. Working on these again. Keep up with these. Bit of white as a result, just to mash in with the slight change of tone. There we go. Onto this next lot. See how they're beginning to really pop out now after this little bit of white on them. Just readjusting something, don't mind me. How's your painting going? Hope it's going well. We're getting close to the end of this. A little bit more white, making it pop. There's little bits there. I'm going to just add that hint of black that I wanted on this side here. I need to wipe my brush off. There's black. There you go, just the darker side of this. And a little bit of, to indicate it's a bit darker there too. There's that. There you go, I think that works alright. Now, we should get on with the final bit, which is doing the ripples in the water. And the white bits in the water. For this, I think I might change to the medium to get more done fast. It's up to you. You can use a small one if you're worried about making too big a mark. I'm going to be using this one though. Have a look. You can have a look at the referencing. We've got a few scattered around the place here, mainly here where the body's moving, swaying as they do. There's a swimming motion, some at the front here for the snout. We need a bit more here for this. Big white line where the snout is making that big push forward through the water. A little bit more highlight on top maybe. And then the body here. Definitely around here where the body pushing through the water. Starting to go now. We're going to add some for this side here. Don't overshadow the black. It's important to keep some of the nice bits of black in there. Bits generally where there's other bits. A bit of white here and there. Add some here, particularly here where the tail likes to swish to on alligators while they're swimming. It's very much, most of the motion comes from the back and the tail moving. There's that. We're very nearly done now. That way the water's rippling up on the against the alligator there. Hope you're getting something of the sense of this alligator pushing its way through the water right now. And a few more up here. Little bits where it's gone over the nose there, where it's going through the water. And I think we're pretty much done. We can put that one to one side. Here you go, alligator swimming through the water. Finished. Feel free to let me know how you like this class, and feel free to get in touch via my social media at Robbie Potter Art to let me know how yours goes. Send me pictures, happy to hear about them, see them. Let me know. Check back for more art classes soon, and have a good day.